Okay, this is part two of the end of book 10 of the Odyssey. So I'm starting here, on the right-hand side at the very bottom. They made me feel a pang, and I agreed. That day and all day long, from dawn to sundown, we feasted on roast meat and ruddy wine. And after sunset, when the dusk came on, my men slept in the shadowy hall. But I went through the dark to Circe's flawless bed, and took the goddess's knees in supplication, urging as she bent to hear. O Circe, now you must keep your promise. It is time. Help me make sail for home. Day after day my longing quickens, and my company gives me no peace, but wear my heart away, pleading when you are not at hand to hear. The loveliest of goddesses replied, Son of Laertes and the gods of old, Odysseus, master mariner and soldier, you shall not stay here longer against your will, but home you may not go, unless you take a strange way round and come to the cold homes of death and pale Persephone. You shall hear prophecy from the rapt shade of blind Tiresias of Thebes, forever charged with reason even among the dead. To him alone, of all the flitting ghosts, Persephone has given a mind undarkened. At this, I felt a weight like stone within me, and moaning pressed my length against the bed, with no desire to see the daylight more. But when I had wept and tossed and had my fill of this despair, at last I answered her, Circe, who pilots me upon this journey? No man has ever sailed to the land of death. That loveliest of goddesses replied, Son of Laertes and the gods of old, Odysseus, master of landways and seaways, feel no dismay because you lack a pilot. Only set up your mast and haul your canvas to the fresh blowing north. Sit down and steer and hold that wind, even to the bourne of ocean. Persephone's deserted strand and grove, dusky with poplars and the drooping willow, run through the tide rip, bring your ship to shore, land there, and find the crumbling homes of death. Here, towards sorrowing water, run the streams of wailing, out of Styx and quenchless burning, torrents that join in thunder at the rock. Okay, what I'm gonna let me review, because we're gonna get into some tricky stuff here. Okay, so Odysseus lays with Circe again, right? And his men have said they're going to leave, so Odysseus is going to leave in a day, and he kind of wonders and wonders what Circe kind of has planned for him, because she said she would help him leave the island. So he asks her to help, and what she says is a little startling here, right in the middle. She says, okay, fine, that's great. I will send you on your way, but you cannot go straight home. You have to go to the land of the dead. Now, this is a problem because no human has gone to the land of the dead and returned alive, ever. The underworld, right? Where death and Persephone live. Okay, so look here. There's a couple new names. I always put the names in purple. So the purple name here, Tiresias of Thebes. Tiresias is a prophet, a seer. I have him written down here as, like I don't want to say fortune teller, but sort of. Number one, he's dead. He's in the underworld. He's a ghost. So in order to get his message, which Odysseus apparently needs, he has to go get it. There's a prophecy waiting for Odysseus. So she is going to explain to him how he is going to get there to meet Tiresias and to get out alive with his men, or some of his men, I guess. He feels this is terrible news, terrible, terrible news. How is he going to do this? This is an impossibility, he thinks, and asks who is going to lead him. And she says, don't you worry, you will get there. I know you can do it, and I'm going to give you a plan. So if you're looking at this second page, which I'm going to finish reading now, all of the highlighted stuff I have marked are all of her plans. Now, for testing purposes, I'm never going to ask you to relate this whole entire plan. I would like you to observe what I'm reading, listen to what I'm reading, kind of absorb it, but don't panic in a way that you need to memorize it or write it down or know it by heart. Okay, but I do want you to pay attention. Okay, so I'm gonna start this again at the yellow. So what she's doing is when he gets to the underworld, these are the steps he needs to do to get the ghosts to talk to him to get his prophecy. Okay, so ready. Starting here in the yellow. Hear then, great soldiers, setting foot, obey me. Number 1, dig a shaft and a 4-armed square. Pour out libations, drinks, round it to the unnumbered dead. Sweet milk and honey, then sweet wine, and last, clear water, scattering a handful of white barley. Number 2, pray now with all your heart to the faint dead. Swear you will sacrifice your finest heifer, cow, at the home in Ithaca, and burn for them her tenderest parts in sacrifice, and vow to the Lord Tiresias, apart from all, a black lamb, handsomest of all your flock, thus to appease the nations of the dead. The third thing. Then slash a black ewe's throat and a black ram, facing the gloom of Erebos. But turn your head away toward ocean. You shall see now souls of the buried dead in shadowy hosts. And now you must call out to your companions to flay those sheep the bronze knife has cut down, for offerings, burnt flesh to those below, to sovereign death and pale Persephone. And the fourth big thing. Meanwhile, draw your sword from your hip, crouch down, and ward off the surging phantoms from the bloody pit, until you know the presence of Tiresias. He will come soon, great captain, be it he who gives you course and distance for your sailing homeward across the cold fish-breeding sea. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to explain this. So basically what she's doing is laying out what he will need to do when he gets to the underworld. So he's going to have to dig a hole and put drinks and barley around it. Now, in order to get a dead spirit to speak, they have to drink blood. So that's what he's doing. He's building a hole so that he can put some blood in it and lure Tiresias to him. So in the orange part here, he talks about praying. She talks about praying, right? When you get home to Ithaca, Odysseus, pray. Sacrifice your finest animal. Build an altar to the gods, to Tiresias, right? Promise him you'll do him wonderful things. Then the third part here, cut the animals, right? Basically, slash the throats, pour in the blood, and then have your men fillet. They call it fillet, but like cut open the animals, cook them, burn their flesh, all in honor of Death and pale Persephone, whose house you're in, basically. You're in their underworld. And then lastly, the blue part here, while you're sitting around this puddle, this hole of blood, waiting for Tiresias to come, other spirits are going to want to come. They're curious. Why is there a human down in the underworld? So they're going to want to come. So you're going to take your sword and you're going to kind of shoo them away. Like, go away, go away, go away. I'm waiting for Tiresias. And then Tiresias will come and he will give you a message that will help you in your sailing home. Okay, so that's the explanation for all of that part there. All right, so I'm going to continue reading here and reading the next page. So follow me here at the bottom. As the goddess ended, dawn came stitched in gold. Now Circe dressed me in a shirt and cloak, put on a gown of subtle tissue, silvery, then wound a golden belt about her waist and veiled her head in linen, while I went through the hall to rouse my crew. I bent above each one and gently said, "Wake from your sleep. No more sweet slumber. Come, we sail. The Lady Circe so ordains it." They were soon up and ready at that word, but I was not to take my men unharmed from this place, even from this. Among them all, the youngest was Elpenor, no mainstay in fight, nor very clever, and this one, having climbed on Circe's roof to taste the cool night, fell asleep with wine. Waked by our morning voices and the tramp of men below, he started up, but missed his footing on the long step backward ladder, and fell that height headlong. The blow smashed the nape cord, and his ghost fled to the dark. But I was outside, walking with the rest, saying, Homeward, you think we must be sailing to our own land? No. Elsewhere is the voyage Circe has laid upon me. We must go to the cold home of death and pale Persephone, to hear Tiresias tell of time to come. They felt so stricken upon hearing this that they sat down, wailing loud, and tore their hair. But nothing came of giving way to grief. Down to the shore and ship at last we went, bowed with anguish, cheeks all wet with tears, to find that Circe had been there before us, and tied a black ewe and a ram. She had gone by like air. For who could see the passage of a goddess unless she wished his mortal eyes aware? Okay, so what we have here is, the end of the story. He is waking everyone up. He has gotten the information from his private conversation with Circe, and he is now telling the men to wake and get ready to leave. In the midst of all this, because they had partied last night, it was their last night with Circe, was young Elpenor. Okay, he's a new character. Notice my cute little drawing here. He falls asleep on the roof. Don't ask. When he hears them, he tries to step off the roof onto the ladder. He misses. He falls down. He cracks his neck and he dies. And away goes his ghost, right? And then Odysseus continues by saying, the route that they need to take. They need to go down to the land of the dead, and they need to he needs to hear this message for them to be able to go home. Of course, they were wailing and tearing out their hair. Nobody wants to go to the underworld alive because it is so super dangerous. So this is kind of how it ends here. Now, keep in mind, why is the story of Elpenor here at the end? Why does Elpenor die and turn into a ghost at this very moment? Think about that. Okay, we'll talk about that tomorrow.